Romania just blocked the candidature of the leading candidate in their presidential elections, Călin Georgescu. Now, for those of you who've been following us on the MCC Brussels podcast, this might not come as a surprise to you. It's an issue we've been following closely, but crucially, there's been complete silence from European elites over this completely outrageous attack on Romanian democracy. Now, whatever your views on Călin Georgescu, and there's plenty in Călin Georgescu's program to disagree with, argue about, even get angry about, I think this represents a major attack on European democracy and specifically on Romania's. Those of you who've been with us know that my colleague Richard has been following events in Romania very closely, and I'm delighted to be joined by him as we quickly dive into what's happened. So, Richard, first let's start with the major news that broke over the weekend. It's the Romanian electoral system has decided to block the candidature after, we'll go into in a bit, but after firstly annulling the election. But firstly, what happened over the weekend? What have we found out?
Well, I'm glad to be here, Jacob. What a mess, isn't it? What a mess. So on Sunday evening, we news broke that the Central Electoral Committee in Romania blocked Călin Georgescu from running in the presidential elections once again. Actually, the date of the decision of the Central Electoral Committee is from Friday 7th. Already big question why it was only published on Sunday evening, especially because Călin Georgescu only has until March 12th, so in 2 days from today, to appeal the decision.
Yeah.
So it's a huge procedural question in the very beginning. And if you look at this decision that was published on X, because still now we are recording Monday midday, it's not available on the website of the Central.
It's a very transparent system.
Very transparent system. So thankfully somebody published it on X. So what we see is that they have two arguments from banning Georgescu. First of all, is that he, and I have to quote this because it is a very unwieldy sentence. So what they say is the following. Mr. Georgescu does not meet the conditions of legality because he did not respect the rules of the electoral procedure, and he violated the very obligation to defend democracy. So this is a very important argument, because the Central Electoral Committee's job is not to question the candidates, their political values. Their job is to apply the electoral law. And they make a vague reference to that he's breaching the procedures, but which procedures we don't know still today. And also we are 6 months into the presidential elections, and suddenly they discovered that he has he's breaching the procedures. How did he run in the very first place then? And which legal remedy does he have if it's these missing signatures? Which deadlines would apply to offer his remedy? And and they also accuse him of not disclosing the campaign finances. The same apply. 6 months into the elections, they suddenly discover that he didn't disclose his campaign finances properly. Why now? And another argument they make continuously, that they refer to the Constitutional Court's December 6th decision, that they are basically obligated by the Constitutional Court to ban Georgescu from running. So the next big question is
what's in the Constitutional Court decision? Let's get to that, because it's really remarkable, as you say, that not only have they seemingly rushed through this, they've given him almost no time to respond. Figures close to Georgescu have said that the electoral process previously validated that all of his paperwork and everything was in order, that basically his application to run was kind of fine, and that to take such a remarkable, enormous step as literally banning the leading candidate in the whole presidential election from running, you'd think might require at least a few checks or a time for an appeal, which have only given him a couple of days in which to appeal. So clearly this is a democratic outrage. But as you say, it goes back to this Constitutional Court decision. What did the Constitutional Court originally say?
The December 6th decision, don't forget this, did not only ban Georgescu from, they actually don't mention any ban of Georgescu from running again. The December 6th decision in its conclusions says that the entire first round of the presidential elections is annulled, cancelled, and that the entire elections need to be started from scratch again. They don't they don't say that Georgescu is banned specifically. And don't forget, this is not only about Georgescu. This is as much as about Georgescu. It is about the second
place candidate,
Elena Lasconi from the Liberals, because the big so even though you believe that there was foreign intervention in favor of Georgescu, even though you believe that he violated the procedures and didn't disclose his stuff, all of this doesn't affect Elena Lasconi. Nevertheless, as much as she also was one of the big losers of this constitutional court decision. And if you look into the decision, it is highly. So if you would submit this document in law school, you would fail immediately. Which is good news for all law school candidates who just failed exams, because you can become constitutional court judge in Romania. And just to say, this is 4 pages maximum.
A 4-page decision, yeah.
4 pages
to annul an entire election, yeah.
Exactly. And they have basically 3 conclusions. First, the entire electoral process is cancelled. Then the election shall be resumed in its entirety from scratch. And they also have, interestingly enough, they say that the current president, Klaus Johannes, should stay in office, who later resigned amidst all this turmoil, which shows that it's politically very contested. But crucially, this December 6th ruling does not have a proper procedure. There is no plaintiff, no defendant. It is just the constitutional court suddenly decided that it needs a ruling. Why? Because the Romanian secret services
produced let's get on to this, because this is the next key document in our kind of trail, which is the Romanian secret services produced what can only be described as a dodgy dossier, supposedly the finding all claims of election interference or malpractice, and specifically about the role of social media and perhaps Russian agents in influencing the campaign. So what was in this supposedly damning dossier from the Romanian Secret Service?
So this court decision was December 6th, and 2 days before, on 4th of December, so the Constitutional Court had 2 days for its decision. The Romanian Secret Services declassified some documents that were quite old, actually. If you look into this, it's a total of 28 pages. It's like this amount of paper, if you look into this.
Yeah.
And the crucial parts are, of course, blackened. So you cannot say what actually happened or whatever. Many parts are quite general, like a general description is of that Russia is active and dangerous. Yeah, okay, good. We knew that before, but it's a very general description. It doesn't refer to Romanian presidential elections specifically.
And some of this reads, I know you've been going into this, some of it reads like the Secret Services have just discovered TikTok, for example, doesn't it?
Yeah, sure. I mean, what we see here is they've discovered, for example, on one page, the first page, that they have discovered 130 TikTok accounts with maximum views of 500,000 each. So, and they claim that this happened in the 2 weeks before the election date, that there was suspicious activity on Călin Georgescu's account. But very crucially, the Constitutional Court decision later says that the entire process from the very beginning was tampered with. But actually, the actual documents don't say that. They speak of 2 weeks before the elections, and here you can say the attempt that they need to. It's not enough to ban Georgescu or do anything else. They wanted to completely restart the entire process by force.
And here there's an interesting almost discrepancy between the Constitutional Court ruling, if you could even call it that, and the dossier from the Secret Services, and then what's been put forward by the Electoral Commission, because the Constitutional Court basically says that it's all about the interference in democracy and that the process wasn't fair, etc. But then they kind of let the cat out the bag in the electoral ruling, don't they?
Yeah, we already heard that they questioned actually Georgescu's democratic values and how he was defending democracy throughout the process. But actually, it's the Electoral Committee's job to defend democracy throughout the process, not the candidates. The candidates just have to follow the rules.
And we've got a video which we'll link about who actually is Călin Georgescu, what does he stand for, that people can watch. But just briefly, I mean, the key thing is that he doesn't come from either of the two traditional ruling parties in Romania, right?
Exactly. Lasconi as well.
Yeah.
So Romania is a semi-presidential system, and often enough, the president is from a different party than the ruling government coalition in parliament. This is the case with both Georgescu and Lasconi, who don't come from the governing coalition parties. And these governing coalition parties, they have one candidate all the time. It was first, currently it's, it doesn't even matter who he is, because he's scoring very poorly. 15% around in the polls, and so they have to tamper with the electoral process to do something about it. And it's very, very clear when you look at the December 6th decision of the Constitutional Court, because it's actually overturning a December 2nd decision. I mentioned that there is no procedure for the December 6th election because the procedure was closed December 2nd. The Romanian constitution mandates that the Constitutional Court validates elections. They actually did a proper procedure. They even issued a recount because there were complaints. And they came to the conclusion that that Călin Georgescu came in first, Lasconi second, and then the establishment candidates came in close third, but he was barred from running in the second round.
And so I think it's clear that there could be many, and there will be lots of arguments and debates about Georgescu the figure, about his policies. But what's clear is that we had an election that was certified by the Constitutional Court, that they said everything was in order. And then suddenly there seems to have been some kind of interference, either by the secret services in Romania, by the influence of the two ruling parties, or perhaps, as we've discovered, maybe even by the EU itself. And suddenly there's been this imperative to completely block Georgescu from becoming president.
The very last sentence of the December 2nd ruling is that this ruling is final and obligatory, and this needs to be published in the official officer journal, and that it even should be distributed through mass media because it's the final decision of the Constitutional Court. Suddenly, 4 days later, they say that it's the complete opposite what is true. So it's and the entire procedure, just how do we want to access this within some days of evidence? And you could say, okay, this is new evidence that was declassified. Look into these documents and you will pretty clearly see that this is not new evidence, because these documents actually date back before December 2nd. So this should, if this is evidence, this should have been submitted to the December 2nd decision, the proper procedure. So what they did, here is November 28th. You can see this on camera, hopefully. And they just scratched it over with a pen and wrote December 4th over it. So, and this is the quality of evidence that we saw in the December 6th decision. So it's basically not admissible by any rule of law standard. So we're going to carry on digging into this. Do stick with us and watch out for more videos and explainers from us on what's going on. But it's very clear that there's a democratic crisis here, right in an important major EU country of some almost 20 million people, and complete silence on behalf of the European elites on what should be a real democratic outrage. So stick with us. We'll be covering more of this.